Ο Πολ Ντανς είναι γνωστός ως ο αρχικτέκτονας του σχεδίου 2025 Project 2025. Ήταν ο επικεφαλής του συντηρητικού ιδρύματος Heritage Foundation όταν συντάχθηκε το πολυσέλιδο σχέδιο, ένα σύνολο προτάσεων για την αναμόρφωση του αμερικανικού κράτους.
Do you know about Project 2025?
The far right's playbook.
It is Trump's vision for America's future.
Οι δημοκρατικοί υποστηρίζουν ότι το σχέδιο απειλεί την ίδια τη δημοκρατία στις Ηνωμένες Πολιτείες και ότι βρίσκεται πίσω από όλες τις αποφάσεις του Ντόναλντ Τραμπ. Ο Πολ Ντανς μετήχε στο 10ο Οικονομικό Φόρουμ των Δελφών και μίλησε στο Euronews απαντώντας καταρχάς στην ερώτηση γιατί τόσοι άνθρωποι εντός και εκτός Ηνωμένων Πολιτειών φοβούνται το σχέδιο 2025.
Well, Project 2025 was an initiative in the United States. Private people came together, and conservative, center-right folks really on a mission to make sure that the next president, who we hoped would be conservative, would be ready to govern day one. And that was a first time in our movement to really put aside our individual differences as groups and try to distill out the core beliefs among us, but also to tell one another, look, what we have right now is this administrative state. Some people call it deep state. And if we're going to ever achieve our goals, we have to understand kind of the playing field. And we have to bring a major period of reform here. Deconstructing the administrative state is going to be the method by which we can restore these core constitutional beliefs in the United States. So why people are afraid of it, look, they call it an attack on democracy. It's an attack on bureaucracy. And that's what I think got a lot of the left riled up. It became an object of a lot of misinformation, but there's nothing to fear in it. It was always a proposal for better government, and that was really only a proposal. It was never President Trump's.
Project 2025 is considered the blueprint of Trump's decisions. Does it say anything about trade policies, and anything about the tariffs we've been hearing about lately?
Well, Trump is the blueprint for Trump's decisions. That's where all this comes from. A lot of the ideas that we have were Trump's from term one. A number of us worked under President Trump in the first administration, and this was a memorialization of those ideas and also putting on the page the things we wanted to do but never were able to, and with the aspiration that the next person would pick up the mantle and lead from there. Trade, what we did was we brought the conservative spirit together, and there were areas we all had unanimity on, but there were also areas where there was clear division. And where there was clear division, we didn't take a position. We just put both positions out. Trade was one of them. And so there were, in our book, for example, dueling essays, if you will, a point counterpoint, one in favor of fair trade by Peter Navarro, now assistant to the president, and the second by a gentleman from CEI, and he was advocating in favor of free trade. So it's really President Trump's call, and he's been saying this for 40 years. This dates back to H. Ross Perot and the Reform Party and the willingness to realize that there's been a degradation of American economy by this exportation of our jobs in our factories, and it has to be rebalanced.
Do you make sense of the latest announcements? I mean, we heard that there will be tariffs, specific percentages. Then we heard that there will be a 90 days suspension of them. Does this make sense to you?
Absolutely. Now, well, President Trump's been messaging this for over a year and a half since he started running for president, probably 2 years now. And if you look at that, he wanted to do this first term as well. The tariffs, this is a major tool in order to rebalance the international state of affairs with respect to the economy. The United States economy is in bad shape. We have $37 trillion in debt, $2 trillion structural deficit. We can't stay on this course. And so he is taking his political capital and making long-term fixes. The announcement of the tariffs and then this 90-day pause makes total sense, because what happened in the interim was $6 trillion of commitment of foreign investment into the United States and counting. Moreover, 75 countries came forward and said to the White House, let us talk to you about how we can rebalance our relations here. So the 90 days is necessary to sit down and make deals. That's exactly what they're going to be doing. And this is the time for countries to come in, not only with a trade deal, but also security and what they can do, to advance freedom in the rest of the world.
So you don't share the opinion that he was forced to this suspension because of the decline in the markets?
Not at all. No, they knew that was always going to be a challenge, and that's why no one's ever had the courage to do this work. But he's looking long term. I mean, if nowhere else you come to ancient Greece, we should all be looking longer term on things. This has been 3,000 years of the elements of democracy, and you're talking about the unfolding of a week here. I think that people need to really understand Trump and the necessity. He's foremost about the American people. This is a promise he made to them to bring back jobs, and this is how it's going to happen. And
so what happens after, if the 90 days period expires and we don't have a deal? Countries, blocs like the European Union, what will they face?
Well, I can only speak for what I think would happen. I'm not a member of the admin, and in my personal capacity, knowing how President Trump thinks, I think you're going to face harder consequences. This is the time to make the deal. When he set out to do this, he did it fairly. He didn't go full tilt. He put things at a 50% rate. And then when he saw the response, he even paused it. So I think this is a great generosity on his part, and the time to come forth in good faith, no games, and get things done. But he has set the floor and he set the ceiling for this, and the ceiling could go higher. What he also focused the world on is that there is the kind of elephant in the room with China, and that's been a major problem in terms of, historically their admission into the WTO and the beginning of this mass deindustrialization.
I would like to talk a bit about China. Many fear that this is a breaking point between the two countries. Do you share that view? And they say that they will totally disrupt global order as we know it so far.
I don't believe that. I believe it's a tightening on China, and President Trump's serious. He's going to use the power of the United States. We have the global market. We are the consumers, and in a sense, yes, there's a large debt, but one of the things you think about when you have a debt is if you have a small debt, you have a problem with the bank. If you have a large debt, the bank has a problem. So here we are the consumers. There is a large debt, but we are also the superpower, and I think that this is President Trump using the power of the United States and bringing the world along with him.
Practically nowadays the whole world talks about Trump, but you had the privilege to work with him. Could you tell us what type he is, what kind of person he is?
Well,
some people say he's inconsistent, or
Sure.
he changes his mind, or that he's very spontaneous. Do you share that with?
Well, I had the honor to serve under him, and I had very limited personal interaction with him, but I've always been a Trump fan. I grew up in New York City. My family came from there, and he was one of the real spirits who turned around New York, and it's that kind of indomitable ability to relate to the common man, but actually get things done. Going all the way back to the Woolman skating rink. He's indefatigable. The man works like nobody else. He puts us all to shame in terms of stamina, sleeps 3 hours a night. And if you look at the pace of what he does, it's somebody who's not just a businessman, but he will make just decision after decision after decision. He's not happy unless he's doing 20 things at once. So I think that's the tribute to him. I think he's also very fair, and he is one to reassess if things are going in the wrong direction. But that's not what's happening here. More than that, he has the courage to stick with his principles in a way that when everyone is saying nay, he ends up being right in the long term. Think about the embassy in Jerusalem when he announced, I'm moving the U.S. embassy out of Tel Aviv and putting it in Jerusalem. The world said, oh, all the advanced thinkers, this is going to precipitate World War III. World War III didn't happen. What happened? The Abraham Peace Accords. He is an unorthodox thinker, and he upsets this. He's an iconoclast, and that's what really makes him effective.
Last question. Bilateral relations between Greece and the United States have always been close. Do you see this positive momentum continuing with the new Trump administration?
You know, I kind of joke that I grew up in New York and worked there, and you know, it's kind of a little bit of a Greek city-state, if you will, parts of Queens. So I think President Trump has a deep personal respect for Greeks. He's been around them his whole life. This is a country that has a special relationship with the United States. You know, we are radically different, the supporters of President Trump and President Trump administration, than what was happening with Biden. You know, and that's unfortunate. If people went full tilt here for Biden, we see the world in a different way. That said, you know, the Greeks have led the way in many years. The saying goes, you know, apart from natural phenomenon, nothing moves in the world that isn't Greek in origin. So I think you have a great opportunity here. You have a tremendous pick in American ambassador, Guilfoyle, and you have someone there who has the ear of Trump. And I would treat her very well. She is a key messenger to bring things back to him, and he's going to pick up the phone when she calls and listen. So I think Greece should take advantage of that, but really internalize the messaging. This is not a thing to fight. It's something to really embrace. And we are, like I said, this is a rebirth of democracy. He is really bringing the power of the people back into the government, and that's really what it's all about, self-governance.
Thank you so much. Greatly appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you.